The problem with photography is some shots, and it's not many, and I'm a big advocate of like, you don't need to spend money, but sometimes you do. If you want those wicked shots with the movements and stuff, you need a robot. And if you want to get those really interesting macro shots, you need a probe lens. And I've done some really cool work with probe lenses. And we used a Lauer, I can't say it, probe lens. I nearly bought it, but the problem is it's a bit pricey for a one-trick pony. It's kind of like buying a fisheye lens. It's like, great, I've got it. It does one thing and it's expensive. Couldn't really justify it, and also renting it's quite expensive once you've got postage, insurance and the rental fee, and like you rent it twice and you go, oh, we're getting close towards buying it money, so we won't use it anymore. But it is cool and it is trendy, especially for video work. Now thankfully, AstriHori have made a cheap version. They've sent it to me. Now, this has not come without its drawbacks, and let me just be really honest here. They've sent me this lens and I've told them I'm going to say exactly what I think of it. This is not an advert. This is what is good and what is bad. Now, let me get it out of its case. First of all, the case, it's cheap metal. But then the lens is only $700, which is what, £550? Dropping it like that won't make it last very long. The next thing is it comes in 2 bits. Now, I'm not sure whether this is because they need to save space for a cheaper case, or I don't know. I don't understand that part. But build quality is all right. Lens caps, I've never seen anything as weird as this before. Pop it in here and you lock it in. So it like has a bayonet. Right, so when you lock it in, I've worked it out, you have to carefully put together the lock and the bits. It's, I mean, like you just pull it apart quite easy. Not great, but let's give it a go. Let's not be snobs about this. So it comes with a light on the end. I mean, this is a bit of play in there. Does it matter? We'll find out. It is an APS-C lens, which means I can't use it on my full frame cameras, which is annoying because an 18mm now becomes a 24, 21, somewhere around there. Not ideal. But it opens up to f8, which the other lens doesn't. When I first used the Lauer lens, I put it on my camera and I couldn't even see through the viewfinder. It was just pitch black. All of this here eats up an astronomical amount of light. Because it's so macro, we're probably going to want to be at about f18, f20, just to get any sort of usable depth of field. Build quality wise, I mean, like, should it be able to do that? Probably not. But does any of this poor build quality matter if for $700 we can create a cool image? That's the big question. Of course, this is not as good as the Lauer lens in build quality. It's a third of the price. But if we get 50% of the image quality, is it worth it? Because the thing with fisheye lenses and like weird quirky lenses, we're not raising the image quality in the same way that we would say with a 100mm prime. It's a different thing. If a fisheye lens has chromatic aberrations, does it matter? Not really, because it's the fisheye element we're looking for. If a wide, like super wide angle lens distorts, do we mind? Absolutely not, because that's the look we're going for. The question is, does this cheap lens create usable images? And if so, is this what we all should be buying in order to be able to create these images on an affordable scale? Now, I've also got hold of a crop sensor camera for this to test it, so we're going to do some stills and some video, just some basic tests and see whether it's worth using and who would benefit from this. Would I buy it? Because I really was thinking about buying the Lauer lens. I'm never going to be able to say that properly, but it was just too expensive. If this can get me halfway there in terms of image quality with some slightly shoddy build quality, I'd be up for that. Because yes, the build quality might not be perfect, but we're not paying for that. This is a studio lens. I don't need, you know, L-lens robustness, although talking about L-lens robustness, they're all breakable if you try hard enough. So right, let's go and give it some tests and let's see what we get. And we're going to jump onto the computer and have a look at it.
Okay, so let's look at these example images now. Full disclaimer, these are not shot by me. My good friend shot these. And this is the Super Duper Trooper, also known as Phil, who does these amazing Lego photos. If you head over to his Instagram account, there's some really cool stuff here. And this lens is really designed for people like this. Yes, it's used in the drinks world a lot, especially for videography, but I mean, it really shines here. So I thought this was a good way to test it. What I was going to do was just photograph an object and look at it because I didn't have time and I didn't have anything coming up which was going to do it. But Phil was like, oh, it's really cool ideas I want to do. So Phil's got the lens at the moment. Anyway, here we go. Let's look at the images. And I think they look all right from a distance. Now, I am very familiar with the alternative to this, the Lauer, which always feels a bit strange to say. And when you zoom in on this lens, you see how it's quite soft and it's got a lot of like haloing around the highlights. That's not ideal, but it also happens on the Lauer, maybe to a lesser extent, maybe, but it definitely happens. And it allows you to get this great perspective. I mean, like getting this shot here would not be possible any other way. Just head into the grid tab here. Let me just show you a quick video he's made to show us what happened here. So this is the setup, and you can see how close that lens is. It's close, it's wide, it just lets you do these really creative things. I think that in itself is pretty darn cool. And we'll look at the video first for this one here so you can really get an idea of what's going on. But again, it's a shot, it's inside a Lego model. You can't get a lens in there. Normally, you'd have to use a more telephoto macro lens like 100mm, at which point you're going to compress everything and you're not going to get to see all the cool detail within there. And that is what this lens allows. That is what this lens lets you do. And whilst I crash my computer, there we go. You can see we've got the context. It's really, really interesting to see this. And what I really like about this, like other trick shot lenses like a fisheye lens, it's obviously a fisheye lens. I don't think the general public would look at this and wonder how it was captured. And I think that's great in photography. I think whenever you capture anything with a photograph, that's sort of what you want. Now, it is not tack sharp, but it wouldn't be at the price point you're looking at here. Could it be camera shake? Maybe. Don't think so. This actually looks like lack of sharpness. I mean, you know, the depth of field you're going to need here is immense because obviously when you're that close, the actual wideness of a lens doesn't affect how much is in focus in terms of critical sharpness. It's like some urban myth of photography. It just affects how out of focus the out of focus bits are and how compressed they are. So yeah, it's a great shot. And again, you wouldn't get it any other way. And I think that's the major take home from this. These are all great shots. I love this one as well with the haze and everything. And again, image quality doesn't matter once you've got haze going on in there. I'd imagine this is some of that aerosol spray. I can't remember the name of it. I use it as well. It's brilliant. But again, it's such a great mood, brilliant edit. Just generally a good bit of photography equipment. Now, Phil very kindly gave me some notes on this as well as to what he thought of the lens, which is always useful because it's great me telling you what I think. But I use it for a very specific thing and he may be using it for something slightly differently. But he did say that it was very easy to assemble. The focus ring feels sturdy and smooth to turn, whereas I thought it felt tight. So, you know, these are all very, very differing opinions here. The LED light at the front is powered by USB port base at the bow. This is helpful in setting up but not recommended for capture. Yes, so this lens has this little LED on the end of it. You need it to focus the light. A lens that long, it's not the f16 that's the issue, it's the length of the barrel. There's not much light coming down the other side of that. I remember the first time I used the Lauer one, I thought it was broken. Now, Phil also mentioned that this is great for his particular type of photography, which I would agree with. And again, it's great with food as well. But I mean, like you look at these shots here, just this is what would normally, let's look at a normal capture. Here we go. Here's like a very ordinary, this is what you'd expect to see. So we've got the, excuse my slow internet, we're backing up a big job at the moment, but we've got the shot here. It's from a distance, it's quite compressed. It lacks that extra element that this lens can provide with that sort of wide close-up look. And again, here with that wide close-up look. I think it's good. You wouldn't want to shoot everything on it, but you know, it's always nice to have in the bag.
So there we go, that's what this lens is capable of. Is it perfect? Absolutely not, but it does fill in a very real gap in the market. This is the sort of thing, if you're a restaurant photographer, or if you're doing slightly lower paid work than top commercial work, this could be an option to help differentiate you from the competition. There's no way you're spending nearly $2,000 on a Lauer lens, but $600-700, whatever it might be, on this could be a real thing to set you apart from the crowd. It's not perfect, the image quality is not as good, the build quality is not as good, but it's not rubbish. by any means. I will be hanging on to this, I'll be keeping this, and I'll be using it for my video work, because when I want to do a video test, I've now got a probe lens that will sit on my Blackmagic 6K, and it's good enough. And good enough is perfect, as far as I'm concerned. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.